Bladers in the anime seem to love their Beyblades, but when they break, they just throw them away. Every time Bladers evolve a Beyblade, they're left with broken pieces to mend. And we've really only seen Fi and Lane take a Beyblade and incorporate materials from another Bey into an evolution, as we see with Perfect Phoenix and Hades, and with Lucius Endbringer from Vex Lucius. The main characters usually 3D print their layers, drivers, and forge discs, and we know for a fact that most main characters remake their Beyblades after breaking them, usually through a battle. I've theorized in a previous video that they may even sell their creations too, potentially making them rich by using patent and copyright laws. Check in the description to find more at the end of the video. But this would, give them the means and the reason to have their own secret stash of layers. The only character confirmed to have a collection is Count Nightfell, and their recolors of various Beys, as we see in this shot from Beyblade Burst Turbo. I can totally imagine them 3D printing extra layers when they originally made their Beyblades. But by making extra Beyblades, does that mean all main characters must have a stash of their previous generation Beys, potentially in a display case in their room, next to any potential trophies they may own? I'm not convinced. To be clear, I'm going to be taking focus on the main characters, and that's because we have seen their rooms, and even other rooms in their homes throughout the Beyblade series, and we don't have any evidence for them having any extensive collection of Beyblades. I do remember Dante's uncle that had many trophies, but there's no Beyblade collection in sight. I do wonder whose gear Iker received, because you may think it was his dad's, but it may have been his mom, because the way she looked at the case and the red color motif she has at the time compared to Taiga's blue leads me to think that it's most likely hers. In the manga, we do get to see Zack the Sunrise taking a look at some older generation Beyblades in a display case, so there is a possibility that they purchased extra Beyblades. It is confirmed that Vault and Shu both got their Beyblades at a Beyblade store, but I don't see Dante or Iger lining up to do the same and buying another Beyblade that they didn't actually make, like many Beyblade YouTubers would in real life, having multiple generations of different Beyblade types. Granted that people like Wakia, who in the Beyblade Burst Surge made a virtual reality Beyblade game or training app that takes up an entire room, Louis Shirosagi and Belle Dezora all have their own mansions too, or in Louis' case, a whole island with base stadiums and private gym equipment. In Beyblade Burst Dynamite, Louis can be seen training with Guilty Longinus versus other Beyblades in said island. There are no other bladers around, as Beyblades get launched by a machine. Now, it stands to reason that he's bought them all, or at least 3D printed them. Still, no distinct Beyblade collection in sight. As one would imagine though, after making an evolution, what would be the point of having their older generations? For nostalgia? I've been wondering about this topic for a while, and well, since they're top tier athletes, Beyblades are the tools they use, like the launcher and the Beyblade itself, have to be well maintained. Or I guess what I'm trying to say is that they may need to have their Beyblades continuously replaced anyways. As a matter of fact, there is something you can't do in real life without potentially damaging your Bey, and we do get to see some of these characters do it nonchalantly. Guess in the comments below and I will let you know coming up. As most competitive players do in real life, continuously replacing equipment is normal. Like in tennis, professional tennis players have variations of rackets in order to be in full control of their hits in any weather or terrain. Let's face it, we don't really know what the base stadiums are made of in the anime. If we contrast this to Beyblade, bladers would have not only one launcher, but several different types. And this is very much the case. As you can see in the anime, bladers progress through storylines, and some even change their launchers or upgrade them too. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Belle. Actually, kind of like we do with a string and ripcord launcher too. I do have a preference when launching. I do like to use a ripcord with attack types for extra torque, whereas I like the string launcher for other types of bays to have control of the tilt or angle of the launcher. Not only that though, professional tennis players have particular rackets restrung before a match, but this would be unheard of in the world of Beyblade, as having a new string for your Bey launcher before a match wouldn't account for any power difference or in its performance overall, I think in any case. Now it is for these few reasons that I venture to say that they don't hesitate to throw their Beyblades away. For them, it's just a sport. None of them have a visible display case in their rooms or anywhere in their homes. and mostly because it seems like a normal thing to do, especially if they're broken. Just as Shu did with Legend Spriggan, Vault with Victory Valkyrie, Delta with Diabolos, and many other of the main and side characters. But wait, did you notice that Raul Comas kept Victory Valkyrie? Yep, after completing Genesis Valkyrie's evolution, Vault didn't even acknowledge his older bae. Notably so by calling his evolution its Genesis, or in other words, Valkyrie's origin. Yes, Raul helped evolve Valkyrie in the first episode of Beyblade Burst Evolution. Towards the end of that episode, he was in a rush to leave. He was so happy to help, but remember, he was looking for a bae too. He had been looking for a bae with potential, and to this day, I do think that he may still own Vault's Victory Valkyrie, not Vault. Raul even made a second God Valkyrie, as well with the God Chip, Reboot Driver, and more upgrades to help Valkyrie evolve. But then again, if they didn't throw them away, why would Beyblade characters in the anime collect Beyblades like we do? I can see an older gentleman like Raul Comas or Taiga Akabane having a nostalgia trip over baes, as they were bladers too, and most bladers hold on to their very first Beyblade, just like Gassum and his Kerbeus. There are other bladers too who started their blading careers with different Beyblades, but have since moved on. Now there could be a more insidious reason that bladers may collect them, and that is to acquire power. The Snake Pit was built on this idea of the perfect Beyblade, and Phi was consumed and corrupted Eiger. Plus there are bladers in the anime known for taking other people's Beyblades, either after battle, as with Kirk Bertier and his sack of bays, or by stealing them, like Count Nightfeld does in Beyblade Burst Turbo. And personally, I don't think it's a good idea to be walking around with bays like that. He has all the Beyblades assembled in his trench coat pockets, always carrying a bunch of parts with him, but I figure the full combos would be noisy disassembled though, so there would be no way he could sneak around. We do see in Beyblade Burst Quadra that the bladers have left their Beyblades at Bell's house, so in my opinion, they've already proven to have a Beyblade collection to some extent, albeit incurred through questionable means. But if we do think back to our main characters, for the most part, they make their new Beyblade when their original design breaks or is not efficient, as with Dante and the Hisashi brothers, and they all use the same program or something like a public server. In Beyblade Burst Dynamite, we get a close look when Vault had to log into a program or that server to download existing files to incorporate his old designs into Ultimate Valkyrie. And I mean, it's evident that they love their Beyblades and have an emotional bond with their bae partner, as we see in many other seasons, as the characters confide secret battle strategy and future goals while talking to their Beyblades by anthropomorphizing the Beyblade avatar from time to time. This bond is carried over from generation to generation and helps them win the battles. Now, I'm not sure if they can still resonate with previous generation baes, but it stands to reason that they would. And as far as a personal collection though, all the main characters and even side characters like Honcho must own at least 2 generations of Beyblades. I have made a short list for the bladers and their collections, as I believe it would be in the anime, and assuming that they haven't made extra copies of Broken Layers, or that they haven't purchased any other bladers Beyblades, Vault would have the most Beyblades in his Valtria collection, having at least 5 generations of Valtria. Dante, Louis, and Shu would have 4 Beyblades in their respective collections, and Eiger would have 2 as of making this video. Honcho is particular in the way he obtains his Beyblades, or I guess the whole Kiyama family is, as the Beyblade Research Center is the manufacturer of Roctobor, as shown in Beyblade Burst Evolution. Now, in Beyblade Burst Quad Drive, the Beyblade Research Center was not involved in making or evolving Roctobor to Cyclone Roctobor. I figure bladers like the Asahi brothers, Lane and Bell, would have only 1 Beyblade in their collection. But as far as owning other Beyblades like we do, Vault, along with the other main characters and side characters, are likely not collectors like you and me, unless we start counting all the Beyblades used in Louis Shirasagi's Island, where his challenge was to burst 500 Beyblades. So then, he would have the most amount of Beyblades out of anybody we know. Is that good or bad? I don't know. The only thing I do know is that with more options, one can be stuck with option paralysis, meaning you're more likely not to Beyblade or not to be as satisfied from having a greater amount of bays, which is also known as a choice paradox. I won't get into explaining all of that because frankly, I'm not qualified to. I did want to leave you with one last thing, and that's what every blader does in the anime that we cannot do, and that is clean their Beyblade layer. I mean, I get it. Clean off the scratches, we can do. But, in my opinion, it's more important to clean the Beyblade drivers. And this is because for the most part, Takara Beyblades and now Pro Series Beyblades from Hasbro have stickers on the layer. And even Hasbro Beyblades have paint that can be rubbed off with excessive or daily rubbing. For serious bladers, if you want to make Beyblades without a 3D printer, from a practical point of view, it's best to do what Lane and Fi did by merging Beyblades. This is mostly due to the fact that Beyblade Burst series are made mostly of metal in the anime. We see how Lane melted Vex Lucius in a metal smelting place. Also, when Volta Oi and Eiger Akabane made their Beyblades using metal in a forge. And we could be doing this in real life too. Making molds of existing Beyblades to have a metal counterpart by melting down casting metal. I have seen metal smelting kits on Amazon, and you can find them in the description below. But in this way, you can have a Metal Burst series Beyblade in real life. Now, thanks for watching, and let it rip.